Solve the following rational equation. The first thing you want to do when trying to solve a rational equation is to find the least common denominator. And in order to make that easier on yourself, you want to make sure that all of the denominators are factored first. So I'm going to rewrite this equation and instead of writing x squared plus 5x plus 6 here in the denominator, I'm going to factor it into x plus 2 times x plus 3. And you can factor that off to the side, and whatever answer you get for the factoring over here, that's what will get put into the denominator in your equation. And so now that we have this denominator factored, we need to find the LCD. And remember, the LCD, that when we multiply to all these terms, we'll get rid of all of the denominators. The whole point in finding the LCD and multiplying is to get rid of the fractions, that part which scares you the most. So, in order to get rid of this denominator, we need an x plus 2. In order to get rid of this denominator, we need an x plus 3. And this one, we need an x plus 2 times x plus 3. So we should pick this as our LCD. X plus 2 times x plus 3. We need both of those because that is how we will get rid of this denominator here. So in the next step, we need to multiply each term by this least common denominator. So that looks something like this. And now we get to cancel some factors from the LCD, like this x plus 2, with factors in the denominator, with this x plus 2. In the second fraction, x plus 2 cancels with x plus 2, and x plus 3 cancels with x plus 3. And in this last fraction over here on the right side of the equation, the x plus 3's cancel. That leaves you with x plus 3 times x, so x times x plus 3, plus, in this fraction here, all we have left is 2, equals, and with this last fraction over here, we have 5 times x plus 2 left over. And now we need to simplify both sides and collect any like terms. So on the left side, distribute this x to both terms, and you'll get x squared plus 3x, and this plus 2 is still here. And on the right side, you have 5x plus 10 when you distribute this 5 to the x and the 2. So there are no terms to combine on the left, there are no terms to combine on the right. What you need to notice is that this equation is quadratic. So what we need to do at this point is to get an equal 0 on one side of the equation or the other. Usually we put this 0 on the right side of the equation, so that means I'm going to need to subtract 5x's and subtract 10 from both sides to get this 0. So 10 minus 10 is 0, 5x minus 5x is 0. And on the left side, we are left with x squared minus 2x minus 8. Now that we have this 0 here, we can factor the left side into x minus 4 times x plus 2. And that will equal 0. Finally, we can take each factor here, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. So here we have x minus 4 equals 0. That means x equals 4. And here we have x plus 2 equals 0, and x equals negative 2. So way back at the very beginning, I forgot to check the restricted values, or the values that x is not allowed to be. And generally you want to do that after you factor the denominators. So here, what I forgot to do was find the restricted values. So those values that make a denominator equal to 0. So if you just take a look at this denominator right here, if this what value of x would make this denominator 0? Well, that would be x equals -2. So x is not allowed to equal that number. And we can do something similar right here for x plus 3 into the denominator. That tells us x cannot be equal to -3. So now that we have our answers down here, we just need to make sure that they do not match a restricted value. So you can see x equals 4. Well, that's not -2 and that's not -3, so this answer is good. But over here, we have x equals -2, and we already found out that -2 is a restricted value. So this answer is no good. So our final answer is x equals 4.